All right, guys. So, I just recently got a private message. I didn't notice it until kind of late, but that's typical of me. One, who sent it's not relevant, doesn't matter. The reason why I'm covering it here, or the answer to it, is because it's become somewhat of a trend. So I feel like I should kind of delve into the answer, and it's not going to be a simple answer. Some things just can't be simplified, or they can be simplified, but you're going to lose out on a lot of necessary additional information and understanding it by doing so. So, I was asked in a roundabout way why they've noticed a pattern with me in how to word it without giving private shit away. um, a perceived pattern of me being kind of like ultra transparent in the spotlight, like social, etc. And then like phases of like going away for periods of time. Some people take this as like a personal attack, as if like I don't like them or something. And I assure you that's not the case. If I don't like you, I'm I'm probably going to make you aware of it. You're not going to have a question. There's not going to be like, I wonder. So it's very rare that I have personal grudges with people. Very, very rare, almost non existent. The reason why is because I personally don't attach like undue significance. I hope that's not offensive, but I'm just being honest. Like, I don't attach undue significance on the opinion of myself from the perspective of other people in general. Now, that doesn't apply to everyone, but if you're someone that I just know online, now that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not anything negative. It's not like that means that you're second class or anything like that. That's not what I mean. But it takes a lot of, I guess, in my opinion, a lot of time and effort, and like basically it takes a lot of, even just logically, it takes a lot of knowing someone, me in this case, in order to believe that that person's view is indicative of what I actually am. I guess that's one way of putting it. Um, I say this all the time. It's not just me. I actually try to push this philosophy in a non abrasive manner, or at least I try to, for everyone. You should not give um, that kind of power over yourself. I realize a lot of people don't do so on purpose, but you can still combat it to some extent just through reasoning alone. Just logically knowing that this is illogical. This is something that I should not do. Yes, you perhaps can't completely shut it off, but you can combat it, and you can at least realize that like that makes no sense, right? Um I went into a side tangent there. So, in answering the question, this is hard to do because typically I have to, well, I don't have to, I choose to cover certain things on purpose ahead of time because I know what most people think when I say certain things, right? So what I do is it's not that I'm overly concerned that they're going to judge me or something like that. It's that I do not like being misunderstood. I think that's kind of relatively normal. It's like it's it's like wasting time. It's like, why am I even communicating with someone if they're not going to understand where I'm coming from or what I'm trying to say to them, right? So typically I will cover ahead of time my intent before saying like anything that might be construed as positive about myself, right? I won't be doing that here because it's just going to be already kind of long and I'm just not in the mood to deal with all that. But you can believe what you want. I can't control that anyway. It's completely doesn't matter. But try to understand ahead of time. I have absolutely no need to bolster my ego. I have no need to make myself look like a great person in any way, shape, or form to myself. Like, I don't need to do that. It's completely a waste. I don't have any desire to manipulate other people's view of me either. So when I say things that you may consider like, oh, he's being arrogant or that's his ego or whatever, I'm just saying it because this is what I believe. I'm giving you my perspective. So let's not get lost in the weeds, okay? All right. So I am what I believe to be, I think, I can't give details, but Jung described it in pretty good detail. He had a lot of information on it. Again, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like it's intuitive introvert something or another, but it's essentially a type of person that I'm blurry right now and it's distracting me that is extremely sensitive to stimuli in general. I see things that other people can't see or won't see. I can't tell you why, but like when I talk about physiognomy, which is like the art of understanding facial expressions and like the emotions behind those expressions and what they mean, what they're telling you, as opposed to what a person is showing you. Uh, the understanding of the slight differentiations in vocal tone, these little things, add up, and okay, it's really hard to unpack this without being misunderstood, which again, it's annoying. But I am extremely sensitive to these little micro expressions or micro stimuli, if you will. So, as is the case with pretty much any introvert, I get overloaded very easily because I'm taking in more than your average person. Now, a lot of people are like, this can be isolating to a large extent, and it explains a lot of why I am the way I am in that regard. But where was I going with that? My brain goes all over the fucking place. It's because I'm trying to unpack a few different slightly related points all at the same time. And then I get lost on which one I'm exactly working on at the moment. So I take in this information, and a lot of people will say, one, they feel like defensive because they don't like it. They feel like I'm constantly analyzing them. I am. But this is the important thing. People feel like you should not do that. That is wrong. You shouldn't. I cannot control it. When you have an ability to see beyond the surface And there's many levels of this. It's not black or white. It's like anything. It's a spectrum. So I'm sure there are people who are way, way more like sensitive to this micro stimuli than I am. But the point is, you can't be like wired to be observant of that and just not see it. It don't work that way. You're going to see it whether you want to or not. You can't help it. You have no control over it. And that is why, at least I guess I'll speak for myself rather than like all introverts. It's why I need to recharge frequently. And it creates a cycle because I isolate in order to recharge my battery, so to speak, so that I can, I guess, get back to a point where I can observe said stimuli without just my brain crashing on me. Because everything is finite. Well, not everything. Everything human, every emotion, every like anything involving humans is finite, including like drive. That I know that's a very generic, broad term, but like your whether you give a shit about something, giving a shit is finite. You cannot unlimited give a shit. It's not possible. And that's exactly the same for observing and processing stimuli. So again, it becomes isolating. One, because when you notice things that most people don't notice, it changes the way you perceive them, which means you're going to express yourself differently when you describe those things. When you express yourself differently, when you describe those things, for many people, not all, many people, you come off as a lunatic. Like you it seems like you're just fucking randomly spouting out nonsense because they can't follow the how it's linked. They can't follow the logic, I guess. And there's only so much you can do just using words to bridge that gap. So I don't think I will ever change unless I can find some means of separating my observations and how do I explain linking it to my finite like drive, I guess. I don't even know if that's possible. If it is, I haven't even come close to figuring out how to handle it. So when I have sufficiently recharged, I appear almost like an extrovert. Now, I'm not an extrovert in any way, shape, or form. Even when I'm being like I guess you would say I'm showing my ass, so to speak. Even when I'm doing that, I'm not extroverted. Because like putting yourself out there that's not how you define introversion and extroversion. The only thing that is used to define it is how you gain the energy in the first place. Introverts lose energy through social situations, and they recharge by being alone. Extroverts are the opposite. They lose energy, and I know energy is a very broad term, but it's the best I've got right now. You're going to have to bear with me. Yes, extroverts are the opposite. They gain energy from being in social situations. They tend to, their brains are wired differently. They excel in certain areas, and introverts excel in certain areas. And I don't know as much about extroverts, so some of this is speculation, of course. But just speaking for myself and introverts in general, what I do know about them, we need, or sorry, had a brain fuck up there. One of the things that we are known for excelling at is observation. It's what we're known for. It's why we tend to do well in observation focused like vocalities. It's, yeah. Another thing, and it's related, all this kind of relates. I tend to be extraordinarily logical. That's not intended as a positive thing. That's just what I am. There's pros and cons to it. As a result, many people kind of find me abrasive in a way, and that's fine. I mean, you can't help how you feel. But due to my like hardcore, let's look at it as a spectrum, because everything is a spectrum if you look at it like objectively. I'm not at the absolute top. There are people that are like pure logic almost, and I couldn't imagine how hard that would be. But the point is, I'm pretty far up on that scale. I tend to not think emotionally. Intuition to me is, I'm not going to call it completely useless, but I tend to shit on it to some extent. I think that it's only useful in very specific circumstances, and it's more a hindrance to people than a boon. Because of this and various other things that I'm not going to go into detail because it's too fucking complicated, I just have a very difficult time getting most people around me to understand like even basic things that I'm trying to get across. So from my perspective, of course they have their own, and they can be free to explain their own perspective. That's cool. But from my perspective, emotion is the hangup. They allow emotional thinking, which it's not an attack. Like you're kind of wired that way to some extent, but it doesn't mean that you have to just like you're screwed. Like, oh well, that's how I'm wired. Like there's nothing I can do, right? Emotion has a purpose. It's an important purpose. It's partly what makes you human. But there are situations where emotion becomes a net drawback. And one of the most obvious examples is when you're, quote, pursuing truth, when you're debating, when you're even having a conversation about a complex topic that's deep, that requires intellectual thought. You have to, well, you don't have to, but it's essential that you learn to keep emotion out of that. And just from my perspective, most people can't do that. For whatever reason. I'm sure it's not their fault, but it still causes a massive communication breakdown. So, in general, I have learned that it's just not a good idea for me to engage socially. It's so rare to find someone that I can communicate with and have dialogue where there's not constant, like, from my perspective, emotional breakdowns due to misunderstanding of my intent. So I find that it's a whole lot more peaceful and I can just live a happier life, essentially being a loner. Like, I don't view that as a negative thing. I don't view that as like it's sad or anything. It's like that's how I choose to live because I think that is the best for me based on my experience in the past. Um yeah, I had a I keep having like I use something as an example or as like a small piece of a greater point that I'm making, and then I get into the smaller piece or the analogy or whatever, and then I lose the fucking original point, which is the whole important thing that I'm trying to fucking address in the first place. It's a common thing with me. But I highly doubt that this will change. The short answer is I get overstimulated in the exact same situation that your average person would be in. I am, quote, taking in more than they would be. As a result, it causes a lot more drain than it would them. Um, it's entirely possible I'm wrong about that, but that's what I believe. So I don't see it changing. That's how I am. It's not a negative thing. It doesn't mean that I dislike you. It means that my brain needs time to recharge. And I'm always going to have, sometimes it won't be a perfect pattern. Sometimes I like recharge and I have a lot more, quote, energy than normal after that recharging period. And then it will go on longer, like my period of social exuberance or whatever you want to call it. It will go on longer than normal. And then sometimes the recharging period for various different reasons is less effective. And then I need more time. And I can understand that seems strange. You don't understand it. It's from a typical normal perspective, it's like it's odd. It is odd. But I'm just trying to explain why it happens. So hopefully I've done at least a semi decent job of explaining myself. And hopefully you understand why there's no reason to be thinking anything negative about it. Um, I do my best to communicate potential issues to people. So if there was something particular with you that I disliked or I wanted to avoid, I would try to do so in a polite manner, unless you're just a complete dick, but I would let you know about it. So if I haven't done anything like that, I haven't explained any sort of issues or whatever, there's a pretty good chance that that has nothing to do with it. Yeah. I've got to put my ass to sleep. Thank you for your time.